Do you ever wonder if your quail will overeat or wonder how much you should be feeding them? That's what we're going to get cleared up in today's video. Hey guys, welcome back to another Slightly Redneck video. Again, my name's Chris, and if you're not familiar with this channel, help you to produce your own meat, eggs, and vegetables from your backyard, your balcony, your deck, your garage, or even a spare room in your house if that's the way you want to do it. Today we're going to be talking about how much you should be feeding your quail. I've had some questions come up recently on live broadcast asking if quail could overeat, if you could be overfeeding them, or any of those kinds of questions, or problems I should say. The short answer is no, you don't have to worry about overfeeding your quail. They're not going to overeat. They're not like rabbits. Now with your rabbits, you do have to worry a little bit about overfeeding them because they will overeat, they'll get overweight. But with your quail, it's not an issue at all. They're not going to overeat. In fact, you really want to keep their feeders full all the time. And if I back out of the way here, you can see I let this feeder get empty. And let me bring the camera in a little bit closer. We'll show you what I'm talking about here. All right, you can see these birds now are, I let the feeder get empty. And there was plenty of food in it yesterday, but it just went empty overnight. So this morning, these birds, I came out here to feed, and you can see they're kind of pecking on each other maybe. You can see they're fighting over the food right there. They're trying to get in there and get to it. You can see I've got a couple of birds that are just a little beat up. And that's what happens when you let them run out of food, is they start to get a little bit aggressive with each other. And you really don't want that to happen. You want to keep their feeders full pretty much all the time because, like I say, they will start to get a little bit aggressive if they run out of food. They're just, that's just the way they are. Now they're going after the food right now because because we ran out of food. But they're going to calm down here shortly as soon as they get a little bit of food in their belly. They're not going to. You don't have to worry about them overeating. Okay, so that's a short, simple answer to the question. Don't worry about them overeating. In fact, if they were to overeat just a little bit, get a little bit heavier, that wouldn't be a bad thing because the quail, they're such a lean meat that they could use a little bit of extra fat. But you're going to see, when you're older birds, when you process older birds that have been around for a long time, they do have a little bit more fat on them than the younger birds, but it's not much. I've never had a quail that was extremely obese, never had any of those problems, and I pretty much keep the feeders full all the time. Now, like I showed you a minute ago, they do start to get a little bit aggressive if they run out of feed. I've had them, when I go in to feed them, start pecking at my hands and stuff like that, just because they're out of food, and like I said, they get a little bit aggressive. So you want to keep their feeders full all the time. Now, as far as how much a quail will eat, I put, I couldn't tell you exactly how much is in here. There's 15 birds or so in here, and they'll go through this feeder in about 2-3 days, which is, there we go, let me grab this feeder, which is about that much feed. Two of these, and this is a 34-ounce container, so 68 ounces. They'll go through in about 3 days for 15 birds. Do the math on that. I don't think I can in my head, but it'll give me a second, I'll tell you. All right, so that comes out to like 1.5 ounces a day, and like I said, it's probably about 2 days that they actually go through, so you can double that. 3 to 4 ounces a day is what you should be expecting your quail to eat on a daily basis. So, you're gonna go through a lot more feed than that if you don't have a spill-proof container. And let me show you kind of what I use. Let's see, I don't want to take it away from these. Well, we'll just pull it out of here for a second. This will really help eliminate your feed waste. Quail are incredibly messy eaters. If you don't have a spill-proof container, or a not necessarily spill-proof, but if you don't have a container like this that you're feeding them in, they're going to waste a whole lot of food, and they'll go through a whole lot more that way. But if you can minimize the waste with a feeder like this, then you're going to be able to keep your quail from going through more than about 4 ounces a day of food per bird. Let me grab this feeder real quick and I'll show you what it is. And it doesn't have to be this big. I'm going to drop it if I'm not careful, because it's full of feed. It does not have to be this big. Bird, there's no food in there. I'm just pecking away. Here, you want to peck my finger? All right. It doesn't have to be this big of a feeder, but this is the basic concept. Just a Tupperware style container. I use smaller ones in some of mine, but I've got this great big one in there because it just holds more feed. And it's just got holes cut in it. Now, as far as how big the holes are, I don't know. Big enough for a quail to stick their head in. Fairly high up on the container, so I can fill it up to basically right below the bottom of the hole when I put feed in. This quail just stick their head in there and eat, and they'll throw food all over the place, but this really minimizes the waste, and it really helps conserve your feed so you don't have to worry about losing a lot of feed. The holes are probably, I don't know, maybe an inch, total. I just kind of cut them out, just eyeball it and cut it out, and it works. They're not exactly uniform, you can tell. So you don't have to really get too specific with that. They don't have to be great big holes, but get a fairly deep container. We're probably talking, oh, I don't know, what's that, about 2.5 inches probably below the hole to the bottom of the container. That's plenty enough room for them to stick their heads in there and eat, and they'll eat all of this food. They'll clear this container out. I don't have any problems with food being in here. If they don't run out of food, well, let me say this another way. They can reach all of the food in the container, let's put it that way, so you don't have to worry about that. Let me put this back in here because I know they're hungry right now. Here you go, guys. All right, well, this is a short video, a short, quick topic to address. Hopefully you got the information you needed out of that. I think I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. So thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, God bless.